Welcome to the Partytrick podcast, where we inspire and empower you to elevate every day. Hey, Sarah, welcome to the Partytrick podcast. We are huge fans and so excited to be partnering with Homecourt. I want to dive right in because there's so much that I want to cover with you today. I would love to know specifically, in your words, how this all came to be. You have had an incredibly inspiring career. I want to know, how did you meet Courtney? How did you start Homecourt? I mean, it's a loaded question, but I'd love to hear it from you.
Thank you so much, Cassidy. Definitely excited to share. So I started my career in actually management consulting for airline clients and did that for about 3 years before going back to the University of Chicago for business school. And when I was going into business school, I was really reflecting on what I wanted to do next. And I decided that I was really drawn to the beauty industry. I was interested in physical products, and I was a big beauty shopper myself. So
Mm-hmm.
while I was in business school, focused everything on beauty and consumer, and wound up after business school going to L'Oreal. So at L'Oreal, I was there for almost 5 years. I first started as the chief of staff for the president of international designer collections, working with brands like Armani, YSL, Ralph Lauren, Maison Margiela. And then I was promoted to be director of marketing for Victor and Rolf and Provenza Schouler fragrances. And so I ran those brands for about 3 years, and it was 2020. It was the pandemic. I was working remotely for L'Oreal. I actually had the opportunity to leave New York and work from my parents' house in Dallas, where they live now. And in Dallas, I just started to reflect on what was next. I think I was drawn to the warmer weather, a lifestyle outside of New York City, and it just got me thinking about what was next. So I did a couple of things. I talked to L'Oreal about potentially moving to Los Angeles
Mm.
with L'Oreal, but I also started networking and knew I wanted to stay in the beauty industry. Loved the fragrance industry that I was working in, and again had my sights set on LA. So I started to network as well, and via a business school connection, met a group of investors called Joby Capital. They invest in a lot of different consumer brands and had a thesis that they wanted to start talent-led brands.
Mm.
And when I started talking to them, all I knew is that they had a celebrity who was really interested in fragrances. And so they really liked my background from L'Oreal and business school and also consulting. And so after about 3 interviews with Joby, I was introduced to who it turns out to be Courteney Cox. And I got really excited right before my interview. And I was like, wow, this is an even bigger opportunity than I realized. So after meeting Courtney through Joby, her and I really hit it off, and she selected me to be her business partner for what would be Homecourt. So at the time when Courtney and I were first talking, the idea that was floating around was about candles.
Mm.
So Courtney, again, super passionate about fragrance. She actually mixes her own oils to create her own perfumes. And then she actually studied architecture before becoming an actress. So interior design, home is just super important to her. So that's why she was initially interested in starting a line of candles. And once we met, we started to think bigger about the brand and the different opportunities. And that's when I think it was almost the holiday season of 2020. We said, wait a second, there's a huge opportunity to disrupt household products
Mm.
and bring that beauty brand philosophy to the home. And so that's where the idea for Homecourt started. And then I quit L'Oreal and we got to work.
Well, I think it's so funny because Monica from Friends is like such a clean freak and she loves cleaning. And so just to see that Courtney is actually like that in real life is really funny. The TikTok that I saw on my For You page the other day was her cleaning her Hollywood star, like with the
Yep.
Homecourt products. And it's really funny crossover, but it's really cool to hear how you can grow your career and do the next right thing that feels right for you and then end up in a position where you have this amazing opportunity. Did you find out like right before you were going to meet her who it was? Because it seems like they probably kept it confidential and then they were like, okay, it's her.
Oh, yes. It was probably the day before. So it was a big surprise. But one thing that you said that I do really believe in, I guess you could call it destiny, but while I was at L'Oreal, or even actually a couple steps back from L'Oreal, I worked in the perfume department at Lord& Taylor over Christmas
Mm,
break one year, and I was selling
mhm.
Flower Bomb. And then, fast forward, I guess almost 10 years, and then I was the head of marketing for Flower Bomb with Viktor and Rolf. And then while at L'Oreal, I always loved the color cosmetics and skincare, but I was always assigned to fragrance and fragrance brands. But now it all makes sense because I'm running a home fragrance brand. So I really believe in just everything leading to the next step. And one other funny tidbit just about destiny, it was Friends premiered on my birthday in 1994. So
Ah,
another full circle moment.
was that when you were born in 1994?
No, no, I think I was my first day of kindergarten.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 91, so I'm
Okay,
like
yeah,
around there too. But
yeah.
no, that's I have this belief too, and something that Virginia and I talk about all the time, and how I ended up working with her and joining as head of parties at Partytrick. It was something I totally did not plan, but I truly believe as well that what's for you will not pass you by, and it's already on its way and it's all happening, and the destiny thing I'm so on the same page as. But the thing that I want to go back to, because I think is so interesting, one, when you look at Homecourt, the products, the website, everything is like, "Yes, I wanna sign me up, deliver that to my house." But the thing that you said that really strikes me about the brand is bringing this beauty philosophy into home care, and it's kind of strange that this hasn't been done before, but when I was looking at your website, I mean, literally my husband, so we started this partnership with Homecourt and Partytrick, and I keep showing, like, everyone, I'm like, "Look at this. This is so amazing." And I had the website pulled up, and I wanna just read something from it because I think it's so interesting. It says, "Our homes are the one place that can bring a sense of calm and serenity in our lives. Collectively, we seek good health, good habits, and wellness routines that make us feel like we are putting our best foot forward. So why not extend that philosophy into home care?" I wanna know from you, what does that mean to you from a personal perspective, expanding that philosophy into home care? Did you have a bad relationship with cleaning? Like, there's this total transformation that's, potential to happen. And of course, Courtney already had this. She's got these beautiful homes. She's always been known for her interior design. And then, of course, that funny little Monica tidbit. But for you, what has this meant to you to like transform the way you think about cleaning?
It's a great question. I I mean, growing up, I definitely would say I definitely have a lot of piles of things, right? Like my room might be messy because I
Mm.
I am a Virgo and I am very organized, but what that means is that I know what's in each pile, right? So I think that though growing up, or like I remember my grandma would say like a clean home is a clean mind, or
Mm, mm,
you've also probably heard about things like if you make your bed every day, you're starting the day off right. I've actually heard the phrase win the morning, win the day, right?
mm,
So
mhm.
I think that idea of how empowering it can be to take care of your space, it's very similar to taking care of yourself. It's like,
Yeah.
and that's exactly why I believe that home care is that next evolution of self-care and beauty and personal care, because truly your surroundings also impact how you feel on the inside. And I think that pre-pandemic, the world was so busy, and at the time, I was actually living in New York City, so obviously my apartment was quite small, and I spent as much time as possible outside of the home.
Yes.
But then when you're in the pandemic, you're forced to stay inside, you start to realize what you're surrounding yourself with and just how important your surroundings also are as part of that self-care. So
Mhm.
that's another reason why I think that home court has emerged at the right time. It's when people, if this came out before the pandemic, people may not have had as high of an importance
Mm.
on their homes and their surroundings. And now that just has been elevated and everyone can relate to what it means to be in your home, what it means to surround yourself with nice things that make you feel better. So I think timing is everything.
Yeah, totally. And when you think about home care, the practice of tending to one's home or space
Mhm.
with pleasure and care,
Yeah.
like you guys laid out so beautifully on your website. But I really love rebranding cleaning as this opportunity. It's an opportunity to care for
Yes.
self. And
Hmm.
I think you would agree with me that cleaning, especially as women, has such a bad reputation for being something that's additional on top of everything else that we got to do. It's a chore,
Hmm.
it's something that we resent doing. But in reality, if we have a space to clean, if it's a tiny apartment in New York or a beautiful big home in LA, we should find gratitude in that and show gratitude, but also enjoy the experience. Like, have fun doing it. There's no rule that says that you can't enjoy something that you maybe historically haven't enjoyed. And not only do I think that cleaning can be a ritual to promote well-being, so is throwing a dinner party and gathering your
Mhm.
favorite people in your space, especially if you're cleaning with these products. And I want to talk about the products because there's so much to cover. I want to know, let's start with the packaging because the packaging is something that I need on my countertop in all my rooms immediately. And the ingredients are non-toxic, but I really want to know about the responsibility that you take on developing products like this because you are doing something so unique.
Yes. Well, I'm so glad you love the look and feel of the bottles and our packaging. A little bit about the inspiration behind that. Courtney actually had an olive oil bottle in her kitchen that
Mm,
inspired the look and feel of our packaging. But as a brand emerging we launched in 2022, it was so important for us not to create more junk.
right.
And for us, our view on sustainability and responsibility is how can we reduce demand for virgin materials and use what's already out there? So you're going to see that in two ways. One is all of our bottles are 100% post consumer recycled material and then also recyclable after from there. All of our unit cartons, the cardboard boxes that they come in are also 100% post consumer recycled material and even the label on the boxes as well. So
Mm,
we like to just again maximize the use of post-consumer recycled content. And then we even use some upcycled ingredients in our fragrances. So steeped rose in particular, if you're familiar with how roses are harvested and distilled to make regular rose oil for perfume, our fragrance house actually runs that process a few more times and then uses like the waste from the water of that process to create the oil that we use in our fragrance.
cool. I want to ask you about post-consumer recycled plastic because it's all over, like you just said, everything that you do. What does that really mean? And are you the only ones doing it? Is it becoming more popular? Like, what does that even mean?
So it means that the resin that we use to make our bottles is
Mhm.
comes from bottles that already exist or recycled materials, right? So you will see, like, I think even Mrs. Meyer's, Safely, other household products are starting to use post-consumer recycled content in their packaging. However, sometimes it will say 10% PCR or
Mm,
30% PCR. We say 100% PCR because we are. And this is a little technical, but in the design process, the reason why a lot of brands today aren't using 100% PCR is there are some design challenges. So,
mm.
for example, if you want clear plastic for your bottles, it's really difficult to use PCR because every run's going to look different, right? Because every time the inputs, maybe there's
Yeah.
some more yellow bottles this time versus brown. And so if you're thinking of a clear water bottle, it's going to look different every time, and that can be bad for your brand. However, that's what we were using, a darker color. And so that offers us a lot more flexibility. I mean, obviously, we want our dark juniper green to be consistent, but we're able to have that consistency because we're a dark color. Whereas, again, if we were a clear bottle, it's a little harder from a design perspective to make that choice, even if it's the right choice for the environment. So that's just a little bit of color as to why more brands haven't maximized it yet.
Mm,
When we were doing our research, I was surprised it was such a small amount more of money to do
yeah.
PCR versus not. So that was a shocker to me. I used to think before I developed it, oh, it must be really expensive.
Right.
It's not. So I think a lot of people are making it more for the brand and the design choice, but I hope that more brands will follow Homecourt's lead and try to maximize it and be okay with maybe less perfect look and feel in favor of the environment.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious then if when you were going out to design the packaging, did you already say, like, we want these clear bottles? Did you have an image in your mind of what you wanted to do? And then you kind of research and you're like, oh, well, if we make it dark, like the evolution of that process, did it change just because you were prioritizing the sustainability piece?
Yeah, we definitely had sustainability in mind. I mean, Courtney lives in Malibu on the ocean. So
Mm,
we're in California, especially, we're surrounded by beautiful nature, and we wanted to make sure we were making the right choices. So the shape was inspired by the olive oil bottle, but the olive oil bottle, typically they are also dark. It's also
hmm.
better for the formula inside, actually, with fragrance. And a lot of fragrance bottles today are clear, and but then you might have to add certain dyes or other things to make the formula a certain color so that it looks pretty in a clear bottle. So there's actually a lot of reasons to go with a darker package.
Yeah.
But we definitely kept our options open, but at every point we made the choices that leaned into sustainability, and also resulted in a really unique and minimalist brand.
Cool. I'm literally sitting here thinking about I'm a foodie, so I'm always at every grocery store. I'm like thinking about all the olive oils at Whole Foods. I'm like, I wonder which one is here. Like I'm gonna be going to look in the aisle.
Well, because it's Courtney, it's definitely an olive oil that I had never seen before. So
Like
it was
an
very
Air
special.
One.
Exact.
Air
Yeah, I think
One
it might
olive
have been
oil.
from Erewhon, but yeah, it's been so fun developing this with Courtney. We did a lot of it on Zoom before I moved to California, but then whether it's on Zoom or at her home, she's always running around grabbing things from around her house that
Mm,
inspire her.
cool.
And so yeah, she's full of inspiration.
Well, I think that comes through in the products because it's this interior element, this design element, this mix of textures and feelings and now scents, which I actually want to talk about the scents because I'm so
Mhm.
curious about how you come up with scents, especially with your experience and maybe not most specifically the formulation, but just how do you decide the 4 or 5 scents that you're going to release with? What is that process like? Did she say, I want a rose because this is a signature scent of mine? How does that even happen?
So Courtney definitely had very strong briefs and directions for things that inspired her and what she would want the products to smell like. And then I think the two ones that came about first was definitely Cece. So that's her signature scent. The one that
Okay.
remember I mentioned she used to mix her own oils to create her own perfume.
Yeah.
That's what Cece is today. So now she'll joke and be like, people's dishes smell like me. So Cece was definitely the strongest and the first one that we worked on. And then because I have come from the fragrance industry, I knew about the market and the different
Mhm.
olfactive families. And I know that within home fragrance, I knew what the top sellers were. So I said, okay, we're going to need something in the citrus family. We should hit the floral family. Cece covers woody. And then maybe we should have something in the aromatic family as well. And so that's kind of I said we need to have something for everyone because not
Yeah.
everyone, even though funny. So Cece's Woody, it is our best seller. I
Mm.
actually would have thought one of our citrus ones would be, but it turns out it's Cece, which is definitely the most unique as well.
Hmm.
But anyways, I thought it was important as from a business perspective to hit all of the top fragrance families. So Cece was the first and her signature. It's also our bestseller. Everything else in our portfolio is pretty an even split. Steeped Rose was a brief directly from Courtney. She hates powdery smells,
Mm.
and rose can sometimes be powdery. So our steeped rose is so unique. It really smells like a real vase of water with fresh cut roses. You even smell the green of the stems, the leaves, even the thorns. And so it's very real. And I think that upcycled rose water that I was telling you about earlier
Yeah.
is really what comes through and it helps make it smell so real. But that an idea actually came from Courtney because her hairstylist had a barrier cream
Oh,
that
I saw
was
this
real.
online.
Yeah. So it was when she gets her hair, that you put a barrier cream so the dye doesn't leak on your face. And it was a very natural product that the hairstylist made herself with some real essential oils and waxes and things. So that was another thing that inspired that fragrance.
Cool.
Mhm.
Wow. I was wondering if when someone's throwing a party or cleaning their house or whatever, but most specifically hosting, having people over, do you think that they should do the same scent across the entire house? Or I mean, I think that they are so nice and pair well together, but I'm just curious with your knowledge, does the candle in the bathroom need to be the same as the room spray in the living room and just give everybody kind of a universal experience? Or is it nice to mix and match?
I definitely believe in mix and matching, and Courtney too loves
Mm,
the art of layering. We at Homecourt, we call it scentscaping.
mm,
So we think of fragrance as interior landscaping. It's an extension of your home decor. And so think about it too. You can in a eau de parfum, we would call it fragrance wardrobing. So different moods or different outfits, you have a different perfume for yourself. Same in your home. So for me personally, I have steeped rose in my bedroom, cypress mint in my bathroom, CC in my living room, and neroli leaf in my kitchen.
mm.
And again, they do all pair well together, but it's a kind of like different zones in your house if you have different fragrances. So
I was gonna
Definitely
ask you
encourage mixing and matching.
what your favorite scents were, but I guess you like them all, so
I do, but when it comes to a party, for example, like if I love how you could incorporate the scent into the whole theme. So maybe with cypress mint, you're going to be serving mojitos, or if it's a Moroccan themed party, cypress mint would also fit in nicely. So I think that there's ways to there's different moments and seasons where one fragrance might become more of your favorite than other.
so it's pretty clear that working with Courtney has impacted your life a lot, just across the board, but I'm curious if she's taught you anything about self-care. I mean, again, this is transcending across this product line and everything that you're building, but if there's anything that she's taught you about self-care that we wouldn't expect?
Oh, that's so interesting. Um, Self-care in particular. I mean, Courtney is super fit and prioritizes her workouts. I know that she plays tennis
Mm.
and she boxes, and so I've always been really inspired how she fits that into every day. And I think just her appreciation for the things that surround her, having these beautiful scents in your home, inviting people over to experience that. She's very, I think for, yeah, I can't speak for her, but I know that she loves having people over every Sunday, and like that's a ritual for her. And
Mm.
so similar to what you were saying earlier about inviting people over for a dinner is also part of self-care and home care. I think that she definitely practices that as well. And I'm so excited to be working on a brand that can help people do more of that.
Yeah, totally. What can we look forward to? I mean, obviously there's so much within the bundles and there's so I mean, if you're listening to this and you haven't explored the home court products yet, of course we're talking from a lens of like hosting and gathering, having people over, use this in your bathroom, use this in your kitchen, but home court would also be a really great gift, a housewarming gift, or if sending somebody off to college. Like it is just so elevated and luxe, but I'm curious on top of the room sprays, the candles, everything that you already have, what can we be excited about that's to come? Anything launching this year or in the future?
Definitely. So this year we have a new seasonal summer fragrance limited edition coming out.
Ooh,
Um, I won't share the name yet, but around July, get excited for a summer fragrance that will be perfect for all of your gatherings. That will come in our kitchen trio and our candle in a limited edition vessel. And then Christmas and holiday season, we launched Balsam Fireplace as a limited edition candle. And we are bringing that back this holiday in the full
good.
collection. So I can't wait. And then we also are working on refill packaging because our bottles are very sturdy. And so we encourage people to keep their bottles and just refill with our formulas. So that should come out this year as well.
Can you tell me more about refill packaging? Because I'm a consumer myself. I've been also making these efforts in beauty products. And sometimes it feels like, okay, well, I have the bottle and then they send me another package and then you pour that into the package. And it's like, well, I still have to throw this thing away. What type of packaging are you looking at for? I mean, is it just like that post-consumer recycled plastic? I first Something that comes to my mind, my probiotic is seed, they got the
Hmm.
biodegradable refills and I really appreciate
Yes.
that about them. What is it like trying to figure out how to put, because it's a liquid or a concentrate, maybe it will be a concentrate, a liquid into something like that while actually still like being sustainable?
That's a good question. With refill pouches, which are very popular right now, it's going to be less plastic than the bottle itself.
Okay.
So in general, yes, we are looking for 100% post-consumer recycled pouches because that is our line in the sand for sustainability. But even when we do that, it's using then less of that material than what you would use in a bottle.
Right.
So
And the
that's the
shipping,
general
the
idea.
size.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I
Hmm.
mean, it's interesting to understand the goals because I think when you're doing it as a consumer, you're like, "Okay, well, like, I still have this thing that I also have to discard." But when you understand
Hmm.
and look at it from the perspective of like, well, we're not shipping and paying to have these bottles and filling up the landfill with these bottles. It's just kind of like reducing the amount, but it's a less
Hmm.
percentage. It's still better than nothing and kind of a great point around sustainability. Like, just do the best you can. You sometimes have to use
Hmm.
a straw, but other times, maybe you don't.
Yeah, and well, that's why it's reduce, reuse, recycle
Right.
because all of those things help. And so, yeah, with refills, it's reducing the actual amount of material in the pouch versus the bottle, and then reducing the amount of times you have to ship product,
Right.
which would impact the carbon footprint. So our refill pouches will probably fill 2 to 4 bottles. So that's 2 to 4 less packages sent.
Right.
So
Cool.
it all is a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. And I've heard this quote about just being sustainable, thinking more eco-friendly. We don't need a million people doing it perfectly or a couple people doing it perfectly. I'm totally going to butcher this, but we need millions of people doing it imperfectly and just aware and doing their best. And this is
Hmm.
amazing. I love it. So the candles, because those are different.
Hmm.
What do you have a tip, or is there like a little handy tip for when it burns all the way down to clean it out? Do you just like boil it, or does it just wipe right out? Because you can use those again for makeup brushes, Q-tips, whatever.
Yeah, so that's exactly why we designed it that way. So another fun Courtney story, she did the initial prototype for the vessel on a pottery wheel herself.
Oh my.
And she was extremely hands-on
Yes.
and literally. And for her, Courtney hates labels. And she was like, this needs to be a piece that you'd want to use throughout the home after the wax is done.
Hmm.
So that's why it's a very organic material. And so she actually made a fun video. It's on our Instagram and her reels. She talks about how to get the wax out. So yes, you
Oh,
definitely boil
perfect.
the water, just like kind of nudge out the metal piece with a knife. And then Courtney herself has put Q-tips in it. She's also had wine out of it. So there's many, many uses for our candle vessels. And we also created a mini votive candle set recently. And those would be perfect for smaller things, maybe a tequila shot.
Hey, I was gonna say, was she drinking a margarita out of it? I like the wine idea. And make your
Yeah,
collection. You can have a dinner party with your candle mugs.
you can.
Exactly. Well, speaking of that, I want to know, and maybe you don't host, or maybe you do, and you also go to a lot of parties. You travel. I saw your Instagram, your cocktails,
Oh,
and
yes.
yeah. I'm sorry. What
Cocktails
is it?
and carry-ons.
And carry-ons. Yes. So you
Mhm.
you travel the world. You've attended many parties. I'm curious if you have any party tricks to share. So this could be your own simple hosting hacks, or something from a party that you've been to anywhere in the world.
Well, I think that the beauty is in the details. A very recent party I went to was actually this week. My niece turned 1 year old,
Mhm.
and my sister threw a very cute garden party for her. And I love a take home moment. So for what Christine did for my niece is there were mini sunglasses, and she glue gunned each baby's name onto the sunglasses. So for a little party favor and also a cute accessory to wear during the party.
Oh,
And I thought that was really nice. Other details, for example, could be when you're setting up your bar for the party, make sure you've already sliced the oranges, the lemons, and the limes.
mhm.
Like so when I host a party, I always need help, that's for sure. And I think I'm more on the cleaning side than the cooking side. So
Okay.
a party that I remember recently was my friend Colin was in town, and he was in charge of cutting up the citrus, for example, and getting the all the food stuff ready while I was spritzing and scrubbing and getting the ambiance right with the home court. So I think having helpers or is very important to
Yeah,
host a great
delegating.
party. Delegating.
Delegating.
Yes.
We put this pressure on ourselves, and I think specifically the person who wants to host but is so overwhelmed by the idea of hosting, and that could be the cleaning pre and post, which, we've talked
Hmm.
about, creating a really nice experience for yourself and creating a new feeling in your home just by, upping the scents and creating
Hmm.
an ambiance, but also knowing that you don't have to do it all to curate a great experience for people that you're going to have over. And
Hmm.
it could be your girlfriend for dinner, like just you, or having friends over, or hosting Easter brunch or
Yep.
Passover or anything. Like, it's knowing that it's about community. And I think you articulated that really well, because so many people pressure themselves, like I was saying, to be the perfect host, which the perfect host knows when to delegate and knows, I like cleaning. You can cut this stuff up. We're still going to have
Yeah.
a great time.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, there's no shame in the game. And the hostess with the mostest, I think the mostest means the most helpers.
I like that. Yeah. The hostess is the mostest, is having the most fun at the party that she's
Yes,
hosting. 'Cause the
exactly.
host sets the vibe too. And if you're stressed out, running around, trying to like make everything perfect for everyone, they're going to follow your lead. Virginia says this all the time. And I think she makes such a great point about this. If the host is calm, has a drink in their hand, things are good, I'm not worried, then nobody else should be either.
Totally.
Totally. Well, Sarah, thank you for partying with us today. I really enjoyed talking to you, learning more about the products, the sustainability piece, bringing this idea of beauty products into home care, I think is genius. But also, I'm so excited to see the Homecourt brand grow. Congratulations, I wanted to mention. This is
Thank
incredible.
you.
I'm sure you've been working on this for way longer than people have gotten to experience it in the real world. As Partytrick, we're building and we're looking for that awareness, and it's super exciting to see other people experience and enjoy what you've been working on for so long.
Thank you so much and can't wait for Party Trick's official launch. And thanks again for having me on the podcast.
Of course. As I mentioned, we are partnered up with Homecourt, you guys. So as a host with Partytrick, you get access to 15% off anytime. Anytime you want, 15% off of these products, along with a list of other brands that will empower you to host and gather. Thanks for listening.